Hello there, and many thanks for joining us once again. We are back with yet another Friday night discussion we always have right here on LN247. We are glad to have you back with us here on this occasion. Welcome. This is State of the Nation. Emenike Agu is my name. It is an interesting time for us here every Friday evening, and we are ready to bring on yet another matter that concerns you. Of course, you know that this program is one of open access between you and us here in the studio. Matters affecting you and I every day, every day. Last week, we started a conversation on this program, and that conversation is on the raging brouhaha occasioned by the large scale of demolitions of property and of course, businesses in ongoing Lagos Coastal Highway of the federal government from Lagos to Cross River State. And there is so much to talk about on that matter. And on this occasion, we are continuing on the second part of that discussion. So we are talking about the much ado about the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. So much is brewing around this project, and we Nigerians have been talking about it as it affects you and I, and it affects every citizen of the country. So we are ready with the part 2 of the discussion. Much ado about Lagos Coastal Highway. And of course, we always do this, in different talking points. Of course, interesting talking points we shall be looking at on this occasion. Government policies, and the controversies around them. There's been so much controversy around the policy of building and destroying, pulling down people's means of livelihood, and though some projects would have some good meaning to the life of Nigerians, but how about government policies and controversies of demolitions of property and means of livelihood of citizens? The question we are asking here is there any meeting point by both parties, those losing their property for government construction works and the government itself? Are there meeting points? Okay, we shall also be looking at some questions of concerned Nigerians over the demolitions, especially in Lagos State of Nigeria, southwest Nigeria. And then we conclude on the talking point, is government moving ahead of time, speaking about priorities right now of the needs of Nigerians, the federal government of Nigeria. Are they ahead of the needs of Nigerians in terms of prioritizing what they do and what they make policies on? Okay, of course, you know that we don't do this alone. We always bring in experts to do this discussion with us. And on this occasion, we shall be talking with a real estate practitioner, CEO and co-founder of a real estate concern in Nigeria, and has been very present in the scheme of things. Gbenga Adigun will be joining us on this occasion. Gbenga, are you there with us now? Hello, welcome.
Yes.
Great to have you. Welcome to State of the Nation, Gbenga.
Thank you.
All right, let's tell you more about Gbenga. Gbenga is a real estate expert and a recipient of the prestigious Africa's Infrastructure Building Support Brand, CEO of the Year Award 2023. He is as a stakeholder in the Nigerian construction and real estate industry. Adigun shares his insights at seminars, workshops, and with the media. We're glad to have you join us, Gbenga Adigun. Welcome. Hello.
Yes, thank you. I can hear you.
All right, great to have you. Great to have you. Thanks for joining us and thanks for making our time. This certainly Lagos State government have been in the news, talking about construction, demolition, reconstruction, and of course projects designed to benefit the citizens. And I'm sure you've been following all that has been happening in Lagos State. Let me just pick your mind on the demolition exercises that have been going on around Lagos, put together the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, and that just recently happened in Kosofe local government, Mende area, Jobwe fellow, particularly. How would you describe all of these? How has it come across to you as a construction and real estate expert?
Yes, thanks for that question. That's a very important question at this point in time in the history of the country, where there's biting and rising inflation. Source of livelihood or the cost of livelihood has gone up tremendously. People are already looking for ways to, look for alternatives to making their lives easier already. So now having to deal with all this uncertainty of people losing their in quotes homes, or temporary shelters or even permanent shelters that have been taken down, it's to add to the burden of the people. However, the Ministry of Environment, and Water Resources have a very, very clear mandate. That is, their mandate is primarily to secure a clean, healthier, and sustainable environment that will be conducive for tourism, economic growth, and well-being of its citizens. So the keyword here is healthier environment, clean environment. So it is very easy for the government to make a very strong argument and say, if we are taking down this building in this particular location for this particular purpose, the purpose being it's for the greater good of the common populace, then those discussions may be a bit hard to, or those arguments may be a bit hard to win against the government. So, yes, these things are happening, but we know that there's a reason they're happening. And also, some of these buildings have been taken down illegally, and they've been taken down because these buildings were erected illegally in the first place with no proper permits and building permits and licenses and all those things that supports building. So yes, it is a lot to take in. It's a lot to take in for most people, but if it's for the greater good of the general populace, then that's a very strong conversation or argument to have.
So much. It's good that you are looking at it from both sides because one is that government policies are actually designed to benefit the citizens. But on the other side, there are some pains and sacrifices the citizens go through that we are asking a lot of questions. How is the government responding to all of this? Great to have you on the program. Settle down. Let's look at some facts of discussion on this occasion. We will focus for now on the demolitions and the construction of Lagos Calabar Highway, which is what we are doing today. We started this discussion like a week ago, and this is the part two of it, and we're glad to have you. Now, let's look at some of these facts, background facts, that the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road project, of course, is a significant infrastructure, as you have already said, initiative aimed at enhancing the transportation networks along the southern coastline, running from Lagos through the 8 coastal states up to Cross River State. The project involves the construction of a modern road spanning approximately 700 kilometers connecting Lagos to Calabar while linking major urban centers, industrial hubs, as well as seaports along the southern coast. The road starts from Lagos, the Lekki Deep Seaport, and runs through Ogun, Ondo, Delta, Bayelsa, Rivers, and Akwa Ibom, with the approval of 1.06 trillion contract for the construction of the first phase of the coastal road covering 47.47 kilometers, dual carriage highway of 5 lanes on each side, and a train track in the middle. The project represents a strategic investment in the country's infrastructure in line with the MDGs. The project will also stimulate economic growth, facilitate trade, and enhance regional integration by improving connectivity and reducing traveling times between key economic zones. Additionally, the project is expected to have far-reaching socio-economic benefits, including the creation of employment opportunities, the promotion of tourism, and enhancement of accessibility to essential services for communities along the route. Okay, this highway will cost 2.8 trillion naira. Gbenga, I come back to you at this point. All that I have read out, no doubt, are good intentions of the government. Do you agree with me? Hello? Hello, Gbenga, do you agree with me?
Oh yes, I agree with you in because
Okay.
the first, should I go on? Yes, the first thing is that any developed economy in the world, if you look at the trajectory, it's free movement of goods and services and people. Again, I repeat, free movement of goods and services and people. The people with these skills that will provide these goods and services need to live in houses. The people with these skills to provide these goods and services need to move from one point or the other. And that's why you need infrastructure. Infrastructure such as roads, rails, seaports, airports, and all these things are what makes it very easy for people to move from point A to point B, where there's exchange of money for goods or exchange of money for services. So it's a fantastic thing that they are doing. On the face of it, on paper, it is amazing. It has too numerous benefits, too numerous to recount. It's going to help with increased trade. It's going to help with specialization and efficiency. It's going to help with competition. It's going to help with innovation. It's going to help with investment and economic integration within the region. It's going to help, like you showed on the screen, with job creation and even labor mobility. It's going to help with price reduction. Of course, when there's competition, there's price reduction, as I mentioned before. It's going to help with a general economic, growth and development. It's going to contribute immensely to the GDP of Nigeria. Our GDP currently maybe under $500 billion. That road single-handedly, if completed, can make the GDP shoot up to $700 billion in the minimum, because the most economic zone from that whole stretch of the highway is from Lagos. It's Lagos State, which is the commercial nerve of Nigeria, and it has mega infrastructure like the seaports, like the Dangote refinery, and all these things. So it's a very good one. However, there are many unanswered questions that the government has made people to ask. For example, you started this project without even announcing it first. That is not supposed to happen. You're supposed to announce this project before starting. You started this project while still convening an ESIA, or environmental and social impact assessment, why you convened all the stakeholders before you even came out with a report. You started the project. There are questions around the cost of this project: 15 trillion naira, which is about half of the budget of the entire country. Who is going to fund it? How are they going to fund it? These are questions. There are questions around simple projects like the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway that took over 10 years to complete. There are other projects that started more than 15 years ago that have not been completed, like the East-West Road, that started in 2005, that is supposed to connect the East to the West, is not completed. The Kaduna Zaria Kano Road is still there. Abuja Lokoja. These are more easy to complete projects that are still outstanding. And so people are asking, this project you want to spend so much money on, will I see the completion in my lifetime? If there's sincerity of purpose, if they complete it and do it in phases as they've started right now, the 47-kilometer stretch starting from Amadou Bello to the Lekki Free Trade Zone, if it's completed without 1 trillion in a record amount of time, then we can begin to see the immediate impact. For example, they say if they finish that stretch of the road, they can toll the road and start collecting revenues and use it to complete the rest, because the model of the road is EPC plus, which is engineering, procurement, construction, and finance. So the government is just going to give about 30% of the cost of the road to the contractor high tech, who is going to also look for autonomous ways to generate the funds to complete the project. So finishing on this stretch, which is the most economically viable stretch of the entire 700-kilometer stretch, is not a bad idea. But again, it's about the questions for me is sincerity of purpose. Will they do what they say they want to do? Will they complete it in record time? Will they do it quickly? And then if that happens, then the benefits will outweigh the little pinches and pains we are feeling now with demolitions and the rest of it.
Okay, I get that. Every government policy is always aimed at the benefits outweighing, the sacrifices of the citizen. But this time around, it does appear like the sacrifices are humongous. I mean, when it affects people's means of livelihood, when it affects your businesses, and sometimes when government comes to even tell you that your property that is being pulled down suddenly became an illegal property. How do you guys in the real estate industry and construction industry, how do you deal with this? How do you balance these things out between government and the people?
Yes, thank you for that question. So it is a very, very sensitive topic, but a lot of it still falls back on the government. You don't let people do something wrong. It's like having a child. You watch your child is about to do something wrong. You now discipline the child for doing a thing wrong. Is it not more loving for you to stop that child from doing that wrong thing and educate him and let him know that this thing you're about to do is wrong? So for a long time, the government, so to speak, has not paid so much attention to enforcement of its mandates. For example, Lagos State Ministry of Environment and Waterfront have not paid attention to people building along the drainages and doing all these things. Then you wake up someday when somebody has invested so much and say this thing is too close to the drainage, or you have stopped the drainage, or there's supposed to be a setback, or you're not supposed to build a permanent structure here, or you're supposed to do a 2-story here maximum, you're building a 10-story. Why didn't you stop them from the beginning? So these are the places where government and the populace can align. For me, it's an education problem. When I say education, it's not about the nuances or deep literacy of knowing about construction or how construction does. It's just educating the populace and letting them know what they need to do. For we developers, people who are stakeholders in the real estate space, keep educating them. People who parade themselves as land sellers or Mondele and the rest of them, let everybody know what the right thing is. So this advocacy still falls on the government. Don't let people do the wrong thing before you punish them for doing the wrong thing. Stop them from doing it in the first place. And that is the pains that many people are feeling now. They've invested billions of naira. Some have innocently invested money, even diaspora people bought houses, and there's been a transfer of whatever title documents that they have, only for them to come and learn that this building is standing illegally, and then the government is taking it down. So the government needs to do more in this space by stopping people from doing the wrong thing in the first place. So having said that, we are quite optimistic about infrastructure projects, but again, they should be done in such a way that it is sustainable. For example, the cost of this coastal highway, a lot of questions are being asked. Nigeria has one of the most expensive, construction rates in the world. This 700-kilometer stretch is going to cost 4 billion per kilometer. Yes, if you ask the people in the Ministry of Works and the contractors, they will tell you things like the soil along the coast is loose soil, is loose sand, And as such, the bearing capacity is very low, can take maybe just 200 kilopascal of load. And with that, you can't do heavy construction, which means a lot of what they'll be doing along that stretch will be made of concrete and rebar. It's like building 700 kilometers of bridge. So they can come up with these arguments. But again, if you parallel that to the Western world where they've done similar projects in a very short amount of time, it still does not cost this much. Because now this road is going to have two spurs. There's going to be a Sokoto Badagry stretch, which is about 1,000 kilometers, and they're already estimating that to cost 20 trillion naira. There's also going to be another spur of that road, which is the Abakaliki Ogoja, all the way to Cameroon Highway. You know, they've done this to maybe form like a geopolitical balancing act, but can these projects be truly completed? Other people have questioned that you don't need to spend this much money. The existing road network, if they are well maintained and in good shape, will still cause and bring about that economic integration and economic advancement. So again, a lot still falls on the laps of the government. But whatever, whenever they decide to come up and say they want to do the right thing, people will feel pains. There will never be a right time to say, let's do it this way so that people won't feel the hurt or people won't feel the pain. So if there's a sincerity of purpose, then that's fine.
All right, Gbenga, let's look at how this is affecting Nigerians and how they are reacting, because there's been a lot of controversies emanating from the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway that construction started earlier on. Let's tune towards the Minister of Works, Senator David Umahi, who came into Lagos a few last week or thereabout to flag off the demolition of the section starting from the landmark beach, the Miami Chula Beach lifestyle, to give way to the Calabar Coastal Highway. Umahi began this demolition after he inspected kilometers 13, 16, and 20 to ensure the most economical and viable way to access the coastal roads without much damage. Okay, while speaking, he noted that the demolition was necessary since the landmark center was located on the federal government's right of way. He stressed that the several structures would be affected by the demolition, adding that compensations would be provided. Now, I quote Umahi, he says that with utmost fear of God and gratitude to God Almighty and the commitment to President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda on our infrastructural development in particular, I wish to flag off this demolition. Okay, it is in the right of way within the coastal corridor, which is the legitimate way of the federal government. Before the flag off of the demolition of landmark, I graciously increased the grace period by another 7 days and yet another 4 days. And here we are because the project stopped because of the lack of demolition. All right. Gbenga, I come back to you. Now, this is one of the controversies that have been raging, since the commencement of this project. Landmark says somewhere along the line, the federal government rerouted the proposed original route of this Lagos Highway kilometer. You guys in the industry have come several times face to face with this kind of situation. How best is it resolved?
Well, truly, simple answer is dialogue. Simple answer is to have a very serious conversation with all stakeholders. Every project like this has stakeholders. Simple answer is to call a landmark even way before and say, Chief, the original plan of this road is the coastal highway. This is where whatever papers you have stops. For all these other things you've done, the shanties and the rest, and the reclamation, you do not have necessary permits. and to let him know that this thing we want to do is for the greater good. Even when all papers are in place, there are different stories. Some people have said, I'm not saying or taking any side here, that um, the name you just mentioned regarding the Oniru tourism destination, they don't even have all the necessary papers that they've been asked. That what do you have? Bring, let's see. Do you have a CFO? Do you have a deed of conveyance? Do you have a governor's consent? They've not been able to answer in the affirmative and categorically or brought anything forward. That's what some people have said. Some people have said they've done this, they've done that. However, even when you have all the necessary papers, the government still has a right to say, Chief, this your 10-story building standing here. I want to take it down. We want to take it down because we want a road to pass through it. Because it's going to be for the greater good. Your whole tourism ecosystem where you are, you're employing maybe 5,000 people. Fantastic. You're generating revenues of a couple of hundreds of thousands or a few millions of dollars every year. Fantastic. You're keeping people employed and feeding people. Amazing. Everybody benefiting from this scheme, maybe say 50, 100,000. You have the people that benefit who derive the pleasure from going to these places, another 100, 200,000, or maybe more. But the government has a case to say if this road comes down, you are generating 10, $20 million in a year. That is infinitesimal. It's a dot in the contribution of Nigeria's GDP. If this road comes on board, it can be measurable. We can generate an additional 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, $40 billion, contribution to the GDP just by having this regional road. And then, as long as the government adds that clause that any transaction they are doing is for the greater good of the people, even for buildings who have all the necessary documents, they have a right to go there and pay a compensation and have their way. So for us in this industry, it's a very difficult decision to make because sometimes when like the people down towards Ikate where houses were taken down, a developer did that, he sold it. The people go back to the developer to say, Oga, why did you build in the first place? It's unnecessary papers. You say you have government's governor's consent awaiting or is in the works. Now the building is down. The developer can possibly not pay you back because he's literally built the house. There's been costs, he's bought cement, bought blocks, bought this, bought that, rebar and all that. He's made his property, he's moved on. So it's a difficult place to be in because it affects your credibility as a developer in that space who does something and then the government comes to take it down without getting a compensation. If you don't get a compensation, it means you probably have not done the right thing. So yes, tourism will be impacted in a way, but I dare say if this road, if there's sincerity of purpose and this road gets completed, we'll have 50 more of these spots that you're showing on the screen along that 700-kilometer stretch. You will have hotels, you will have more filling stations, you will have more beaches, more tourism destinations. You will have even we can kick off things like compressed natural gas along that stretch and use it as one big experiment that if my gas is being fired, if my car is being fired by gas, there should be a CNG station by kilometer 200, another one by kilometer 400, another one by kilometer 600. And if I'm driving a gas fired, I should be able to get gas along the way and complete my journey from Lagos to Calabar in 6 hours. If I'm driving an electric car, there should be superchargers that can charge your car to like 50, 60% that can give you 200-kilometer mileage along the stretch of the road. You charge your car in 1 hour and 45 minutes. And they do in the developed world, you charge your cars for 1 hour, it gives you a mileage of 300 kilometers. So this road should also be seen as a technology experiment where they can do all these sustainable things of the future as the world is moving away from fossil fuel. Don't just build roads the way they built it 50, 70 years ago. Use it as one big experiment that can really, really bring about technology advancement and economic advancement.
Absolutely. While we are looking at all of these sides and angles, we would love to hear from the Honorable Minister of Works because I've got one important question to ask you. But let's pause for and listen to Dave Umahi, Senator Dave Umahi, speaking on this project and the controversies surrounding the project. And remember, we are talking about the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. Much ado about it. Matters are rising, from all the issues around it, and one of which of course, will be prioritizing government projects over the people's needs in this time and season in Nigeria. But first of all, here is Dave Umahi, Senator Dave Umahi, the Honorable Minister for Works, speaking on this occasion.
One is the fear of God, the second one is human face. And that's what we have tried to do. Since we came on Thursday, we have been going through the route every day from morning to sometimes 8 p.m., 9 p.m. And we've taken hard decisions. In some cases, we have followed the gazetted route. In other cases, we have realigned to the coastal line majorly. And coastal line from the shore 250 meters by the Supreme Court judgment belongs to the federal government. I talk in particular landmark. I don't know if they're here. And come to think of it, there is none of its infrastructure that is affected. I agree that there are some people he subletted the place to, but the shoreline was never given to him by the Oniru's family. And so these people he subletted erected some, I won't call it shanties, but caravans, makeshift, so on and so forth, within the shoreline. And if you go to the shoreline, you will see a demarcation of what was given to him, and you will see a different color of the sand there, different color of the sand. And you see by reason of the sand filling, the point that the sand is different color. And so we are dealing with these people that is subletted, this shoreline illegally. And I've asked him to bring his documents. And I challenge him and his co-politicians to bring the documents. Let him flash the documents before the press. And so the person we should be talking about is, Mr. Bolaji. I don't know the name of his, that's the man that should be talking about that his infrastructure is taken. And that is at, kilometer 1 plus 400.
All right, I'm glad to have you back. We are listening to the Honorable Minister for Works in Nigeria, Senator Dave Umahi, speaking on one of the many controversies on this Lagos-Calabar Coastal Line. And we still have the CEO, co-founder of Rubber Perfecta, Gbenga Adigun, industry expert in real estate and construction industry, with us, helping us make sense of all of these. The controversies have been raging since the construction work started in Nigeria. And also at this point, we're going to put up the phone line and invite the viewer to join us in this discussion, as we always do. Make your contributions on the much ado. We're discussing matters arising on this coastal way. Nigerians have asked too many questions which they say remain unanswered. And right here with Gbenga here with us, we will try to seek answers on these questions. One of the questions I'm bringing to you now, Gbenga, is the question of priority now. We heard the minister there saying that they have taken hard decisions. So the minister is aware that some of these government policies also do affect people, in a rather harsh way, even if it means ending their means of livelihood. Should I say government doesn't care or what? Sometimes they will tell you, your property is illegally standing here. Meanwhile, government approved that property in the first place to come up. Then suddenly it becomes an illegal property. We're not speaking particularly of anyone, but landmark was mentioned And the minister even also referred to that. Now, my question to you, Gbenga, is the Coastal Highway, has government prioritized it over the needs of Nigerians, especially over things like security, food, economic hardship, and they are asking, what will this benefit Nigeria now? It's going to take how long a time to complete? And trillions of naira when Nigerians are suffering. Gbenga, chew this question. I'll come back to you. We have a caller in Ikorodu, Southwest Nigeria. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Thank you for calling State of the Nation.
It's a brilliant, you're doing a nice job.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
And then I want to thank our guests who has actually done a very brilliant contribution to this topic. Unlike the sentiment we had before now. Now, I now know, as a caller, to know that, look, government needs to balance some things up as far as the law guiding road construction. I didn't know before now. But the point is that these are guests also has always been able to tell us that, look, this construction goes beyond what people are talking about. Those are enemies of this project. In fact, let me call it again, the construction is another landmark on its own. So truly, if a truly landmark does not have if truly landmark has been encroached, then what's the noise about? And I've said it before now that, look, I don't know if Atiku and Obi, who is going to tell them that at the end of this construction, we're likely to have 20 times of landmark in that along that road. And if truly landmark is not completely destroyed, landmark will even enjoy that road too. You will make more money when that place is fully constructed. Please, thank you very much, Berlin, and you're doing a nice job. Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you so much for calling from Ikorodu, Southwest Nigeria. Okay, Gbenga, please do roll his observations into the question I asked over prioritizing projects, government projects over the needs and challenges facing the citizens.
Yeah, thank you. So, as we all know, the problems bedeviling the country is hydra-headed. And that means it requires a multi-dimensional approach. It's a multifaceted problem. There will never be a right or wrong time to do this. Yes, there's spiraling inflation, there's food insecurity, there's food inflation, there's hardship, there's unemployment, there's all these things. But I don't even want to touch upon the politics of all of this, just looking at it from an economic standpoint or a social standpoint. This road in itself is a solution to all these other problems. It might be hard to accept, but, for example, just take one. Insecurity is more likely to happen when there is unemployment, when people are not gainfully employed or engaged, where people have maybe lost hope in having a sustainable means of livelihood, and they turn to crime. So this road will create jobs that you cannot quantify what it's going to, the kind of jobs it will create. If a farmer from Cross River or Goja, Calabar somewhere is able, if one of those boys standing on the road is able to go back to the farm to plant bananas, tomatoes, cassava, whatever, and is able to deliver it to Lagos in 6 hours. Did you know that, for example, more than 60% of fresh farm produce gets destroyed along the road? We don't have cold chain. So before you plant things from the north, it comes down south where there's a huge demand for it. Lots of it is wasted. So this is a lot of money that will be saved. The value chain is extensive. There can be cold chain along that road. People can build cold rooms. Maybe at trailer parks, you stop, you ice or freeze your perishable goods, you continue to Lagos. But within 6 hours, you may not even need that. You may just need a trailer truck that is a cold van and move fresh produce. So I'm saying the opportunities that this road will present tackle insecurity. The opportunities that this road will present can tackle food security. The opportunities that this road will present can tackle even inflation, food inflation, and all these things. So it's very difficult to say, do this first before doing that. This road is one of the solutions to the Hydra-headed problems that the country is facing. The only big questions that people will ask, which is valid, which is based on antecedents, is will they finish this road in my lifetime? Because just this simple 110-kilometer Lagos-Ibadan took more than 10 years to refurbish. But people have said that is because the road is in existence. This one we are building a new part that was not there before. So there's no obstruction, there's no disturbance, there's no stopping this lane to do this lane, that it should go faster. But again, I keep saying it, if there's sincerity of purpose, which is if the government goes ahead to complete this road in sections, the section one is from Mamadu Bello here to 47 kilometers down the road, Dangote Refinery and Environs. If they finish that, that is the most economically viable stretch of the road, I want to believe for now, because of the ports, nearness of VI to the port, and the refinery, the deep sea port, another port there, the airport, if it comes up, and the rest of it. Is going to have a very big multiplier effect. So it's very easy to say you should have tackled fuel, bring fuel down. You should have tackled exchanges. You should have tackled this. I'm 100% apolitical on this matter. I'm talking about the economic benefits of it. So as long as they go ahead to finish it, they are at the same time solving some of these problems.
Yeah, sorry to barge in, but what Nigerians are saying is just in terms of prioritizing the needs of people. To Nigerians, it looks like the speed at which the government of the present administration is facing this project, as if it's looking like putting the cart before the horse. Nigerians are groaning under severe economic hardship, and you are pulling down, in fact, you are adding more to it by pulling down people's means of livelihood in the name of constructing a 700 kilometers road. Everybody knows that the road is going to be of immense benefit when completed. You spoke about movement of goods and services. You and I live in this country, and you know that to travel from Lagos to Benin City, you can count up to 70 to 100 checkpoints, when you are moving. It slows down movement of goods and services. In the process, a lot of them also get damaged. Now, what we are saying is, to government, at what point, where is the meeting point between the government and the people when it comes to projects like this, where you have to pull down people's houses, where you have to make people jobless and close down businesses just to have your way in constructing projects like this? That is one of the many unanswered questions thrown at the minister, and that Nigerians are still awaiting answers. What do you say to that?
Yes, good, fantastic question. I would agree that the government, this is a personal opinion, I've not done too well regarding that. The stakeholder management is a bit deficient. But of course, even government, they are learning every day. We all learn, whether a business, a public sector, operator, we're all learning. I'm sure the next one, they will handle it better. Stakeholder management, some people have even said you started this project before even making an announcement. You started this project while you were still convening an ESIA meeting with the stakeholders. Next time, what they can better do is to call all stakeholders to the table and tell them, you people, we are giving you 60 days, 90 days. If you have any document, bring it. If you know you do not have any document, your building will be brought down. That way, people will know that, okay, I am already legally standing here. Let me take out what I can salvage for my business. Because some people lost machinery because they didn't have time to take them out. They lost different types of property that were not easily movable. Could they have reduced their losses if they had ample notice, to move some of these things? So is to properly engage the stakeholders, But again, people have also argued that the government has not really been there for me all my life. They've not really done much for me. This is the only means of livelihood I have. And because of that, when enforcement is not carried on for so long, people all would always do things the other way. They build on drainages, they build anywhere, they do all that. And that's okay if if you look at it from a social point of view. That when I say it's okay, they will tell you they'd rather do this small business than go and steal or turn to crime. And that's where they get away with the argument. But again, the biggest conversation to have is how many people are benefiting from this thing currently. That is what is. The next question is how many people could possibly benefit once this project is complete. That is what could be. We're at a point in time as an economy that we should be looking at what could be. Mind you, Nigeria is no longer the biggest economy in Africa that we held for a good number of years. We are not even number 2 or 3. There's been a decline in growth. A singular infrastructure like this road can catapult us back to the number 1 spot, because again, it is too numerous to recount the economic benefits. We've seen it happen all over the world. We've seen countries build 2,000 kilometer road. We've seen countries like China done something Belt Road initiative that is tens of thousands of kilometers connecting different economic hotspots around the world. So infrastructure, you can never overflog it. If you go back to history, Alexander the Great, when he was the king of Macedonia or so, then the empires that this guy conquered that spanned from Europe to Asia, as way back as 636 BC, Alexander the Great connected all his empires by road, and the road then was just for horse and carriage to move. And as far back as then, it brought about serious economic benefits and regional integration, cultural integration. The benefits are too numerous to recount. So again, the meeting point is government should stakeholder management. They have to work better on it. The next one, if they go ahead to do it, Badagry, Sokoto, have better stakeholder management. Give people time. Even when they've illegally erected structures, it doesn't mean they didn't kill anybody, as they say on the streets. So, okay, this thing is legal. You have to take it out. Salvage what you can salvage. I'm giving you 90 days, 180 days to cut your losses. People understand, because at the end of the day, when that road is done, they can even come back and still do business in and around that area, as long as it's legal and what is legally permissible. So yes, the stakeholder management has to be better for the next one. And if it's not too late to try and even repair any damaged relationships, call all these people and look for ways to compensate them.
Gbenga, thank you so much for all the insights you bring into this discussion. Thank you so much, because that's why we have an expert such as you are in real estate and construction industry, helping us make sense of all of these. Earlier on you spoke about funding the project and how much it's costing Nigeria. Where are they going to get all this money? You spoke about the project being if not larger or more than half the budget of the entire nation. Where is this money going to come from? Nigerians are asking this question. Why is the present administration, why is the Tinubu administration so bent on this project now that the economy in the country cannot carry it?
Fantastic question. For me, this biggest thing I personally was ruminating on when the announcement was made. Now, where is this money going to come from? It depends on the model. The model they are using to fund this project is called the EPC Plus. ITEC is the engineer, procurement, and construction partner. The plus there is you also have to be involved in this. So the EPC Plus we are hearing, we don't have 100% details to these agreements. After the design has been approved, is that the government will drop just about 30% of this cost. So that should bring it down to government expenditure, government exposure on this cost should be 5 trillion. I can't remember the exact figure, the appropriation for the Ministry of Works or for, capital expenditures like this, whether it's up to 5 trillion. So if the government is not getting it from the budget, they would look for autonomous ways to raise that money. They can bring in foreign investors or whatever to cover the 5 trillion.
Gbenga, you and I know
that
it will end up in borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. That's what Nigerians are afraid of.
Yes, and There is nothing
Phone
wrong
line.
with
Let's
that
put back the phone
itself.
line
I
and get
keep
one or
saying
two more calls. Yes, go ahead.
there- there's nothing wrong with borrowing in itself. There's nothing. It is what it is utilization of the funds that is the matter. So just to quickly wrap this up, if the government brings the 5 trillion, ITech is supposed to come up with the rest of the funds, and that's why they're doing the road in phases. What ITech can do is, if they complete Lagos Dangote Ibeju stretch, 47 kilometers, they can toll that road. Then revenue generation from the toll can help them to finish the rest of it. They can also bring in foreign investors if they get good enough guarantees, maybe by the government or whatever. Another way that I am personally an advocate of that I've been saying since my days in finance is that long-term obligations, in fact, intergenerational long-term obligations like pension funds can finance infrastructure. I mean, you don't play with people's future, is their money, is their this. I understand all of that. All that is story because what this has worked in countries like Brazil, in South America, in Asia. They are using pension funds to do massive infrastructure development because this is an intergenerational debt obligation. So as long as the risk management framework is in place and is decent enough, it can fund things like this. Pension funds is in excess of 20 trillion AUM right now. A portion of it, can be used to fund infrastructure projects that will have economic benefit. Then there should be more public-private participation. There should be other models of infrastructure building like build, operate, and transfer, and all these other models, EPC plus and the rest of it. So the truth is we need to see more and more of this. Again, it is never a wrong time to do the right thing. As long
I
as
like that.
you finish this project, you do it well, then I mean it's fine. Borrowing in itself is not a bad thing, it's what you do with the money. If you borrow the money and chop it, that's when there is a problem. You just dig yourself into a further hole. But again, if you borrow this money, you finish this road, you toll it, other money will come back and the road will keep giving you money forever and even go
Do
beyond
you
whatever you
think,
borrow. So
my
it's not
final question,
itself.
you said there's never a wrong time for a project that will benefit people. The administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is for these 4 years, which he has done how many? And probably if he is re-elected, will do another 4 years. Do you think the span of 6-7 years is enough to complete this project? Remember that when this project gets to the Bayelsa Rivers Delta area, it becomes more hectic because it's all creek and creek and creek. The bridges that they will be constructing will probably be longer than Third Mainland Bridge and even Fourth Mainland Bridge when we see it. Quickly, just as we go, do you think this administration can finish this project?
If you look at antecedents, it's very easy to say 8 years is too short because previous shorter projects have not been completed in 8 years. So, but we don't know if we are hoping the government comes with a surprise and they become more efficient. And with this, public-private participation, especially when the EPC contractor has a skin in the game by bringing his own money. Every private institution, first of all, wants to make profit before anything else. So we are hoping that that should, improve the speed. And if by 8 years they don't finish, like you said, then there should be it should be at a point where the handshake will be seamless. And if the project is viable, they should continue to get funding to finish it. Now, you are very correct about how the road will be because these places where the road is going to crisscross marshes and creeks and all these things, the load bearing capacity of the soil there is even less than 200 kilopascal, which means you have to do piles and all these things along the entire stretch. Whether low bridges or high bridges, you do lots of them, which means a lot of concrete work. But we're also happy that most of the road will be done in concrete with Nigerian cement, Nigerian sand, but unfortunately we have to import iron rod, because the Jakuta is not working well. So it could have been an easy thing if it was a full Nigerian material input, because you'll be also supporting these businesses. So eight
I
years
really must
may not
thank
be
you.
enough, but all right.
Gbenga, thank you
Let
so
me stop
much.
here.
Don't you worry. We will do this. It's a series we are doing on demolitions, constructions, and especially that of the Lagos-Calabar Highway. When we return next time, we will be having government officials also come to speak on this matter, and then Nigerians affected. We've just spoken to an industry expert, Gbenga Adigun, co-founder, CEO and co-founder of the Rubber Perfector. Thank you so much for the insights you have given us today. We appreciate your time on State of the Nation. God bless you. Thank you so much. Okay, Emenike Agu is my name. Time is not on our side. We will have to go, and we will be back same time next week. Bye for now.
With